Hello and welcome to another episode of a weekly Waypoint where we are playing Grid again because it's just too damn good. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I haven't really played it since the last episode of a weekly Waypoint. I played a bit of a career, but not a huge amount, like maybe an hour's worth while I was talking to Reese. But I just feel like playing this for the weekly Waypoint at this point because there are so many games I'm juggling. I think it would be cool to juggle this one specifically at a weekly Waypoint. So I hope you're enjoying it because otherwise that's a little bit unfortunate, isn't it? You may have noticed a few weeks back I changed the naming conventions on these videos for the first time in like 2 years. So now the video goes weekly Waypoint, title of the video, and then the game in like square brackets afterwards. Whereas before it was weekly Waypoint, title of a game, title of a video. But the game isn't really important because, well, I mean it is important because it's what you're watching and hopefully it's enjoyable to watch, but it's just meant to be a bit of a background thing while I natter about my week. This week's been pretty normal, pretty bland, except for 2 days ago when I thought, you know what would be nice, I've got my week off, and I've just stubbed my little toe so hard that it's bled, so I think I'm going to treat myself to a bit of takeaway. I'm gonna use Uber Eats. That's right, I'm calling you out, Uber Eats, on this multi-thousand million view show that you're definitely going to care about. Calling you out. I thought, I've only ordered from them twice before, and the first time they got my order quite badly wrong. Second time was alright. I was like, maybe it was just a bad time the first time. Don't worry, I won't go on about this for too long. But yeah, basically, they got half my order wrong, but that's not even the point I'm making here. The point I'm making is that then, a couple of hours later, I noticed I was getting notifications on my phone about orders arriving, and I checked my account, and someone had hacked into my account and was using the PayPal's instant thing where you have no choice over whether it's going to use the two-factor authentication setup or not. It's just like a pre-agreed thing that you buy the food, it goes through. So someone had hacked into my account and was using it to buy food for other people. Luckily, I stopped that after like 2 meals, but that was not fun. I told PayPal this was an unauthorized use. They were like, nah, it's totally fine. I said, no, it was definitely an unauthorized use. They were like, nah, it's totally fine. So I took it up with Uber Eats and they were like, hey, they took 24 hours to get back to me and they were like, hey, you should use this help avenue instead. But that help avenue requires me to log into my account, which I deleted because deleting my account was the only way to stop this from happening. So I guess I'm just down £40. So that's cool. I wanted to talk about it because you hear about this stuff happening, but what you don't hear people talk about because of, I guess, they don't like me, either they don't feel the same way as I do or they're too prideful to talk about it or whatever, but what people don't talk about is the anxiety of it, of like, money is coming out of my account and I have no power to stop it. Like, it took like 20 minutes for me to figure out how to shut it all down because it was tied to someone else's phone number now and it was a whole thing. And the anxiety kind of stayed with me for about a day afterwards of just constantly keeping my eye on my emails. Obviously I changed passwords for like everything and all of that, but it's just not a fun time. It just makes you feel invaded and it's horrible. The £40, it sucks, but I'm fine about it. I can live without it, you know. It's annoying, but it happens. What's not so great was the kind of the way it ruined my day and kind of a day after as well. I just felt so paranoid. But hey ho, there you go, that's what happened. I'm not letting it ruin my entire week off though. So last week I talked about buying Forza Horizon 3 from CD Keys, and that was a good idea because I mentioned it before, but Forza Horizon 4 is one of my favourite games of all time. I think it's the best racing game ever made, even though we're currently watching me play Grid and I keep talking about how awesome Grid is. Still think Forza Horizon 4 is the better game, although they're completely different styles of racing games, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But now that I've had about a week with Forza Horizon 3, I have to say I don't know if it's just recency bias, but I think Forza Horizon 3 might be the better of the two games. For these reasons, it has a lot of features which I'm surprised didn't get carried over to Forza Horizon 4. Like, the idea of you being the boss of a festival and that you're building up the festival. There's a sense of progression there that Forza Horizon 4 sorely lacked. Although that being said, it has been a long time since I played through the base progression for Forza Horizon 4. But there's just so much stuff like that where I'm like, oh, this was a better way of doing it. Like, you get cars at a slightly slower rate in Horizon 3 as well. It still throws cars at you like no other game does. Like, it's kind of insane. But cars feel more earned, and you don't feel like you've lost track of where you got cars from and which ones are your favourites and all of that. Yeah, and the menus too. Like, when you go to Forza Horizon 4, it just shows you all of your cars in like this massive grid, and that's probably a more efficient way of doing it. But the way they do it in Forza Horizon 3 is when you kind of select a car, or like, I wouldn't say mouse over it obviously because I'm using a controller, but you know what I mean. It shows you the car, like, it's like a row along the bottom and then a picture of a car as you like look at it, like filling most of the screen. And it's little things like that that I pick up on as like, oh, I care more about what cars I have because I'm not just choosing the same cars over and over again based on their icon of like a small picture, a small version of their car. Also, this was annoying because I couldn't flash back any further than like a second. So yeah, little UI things like that. I really like the emphasis on drive avatars, which I think Forza Horizon 4 moved away from because it became more of a live game. Because they do have online free roam in Horizon 3, but it's not quite as integral to the game as a whole. It's more of a separate thing. So there's more of a focus on drive avatars because that's your main way of integrating with other players, as downloading their drive avatar data, which I believe shows you the liveries they have on their cars and has like a general AI idea of that style of that person's driving. For instance, I noticed one of my friends constantly rams people, but like you hire 4 drive avatars to be part of your personal kind of like army that's going to be in all of your races, and that's cool because like I like driving next to my friends even though it's not really them. It's like, oh, it's like playing with worms. The game sorry, that was a bit weird. You know the Worms games where you can name your own team. It's like naming a team after your friends and having fun stories about how, oh, so and so blew up so and so, and it's like, yeah, it's just a cool little thing. I think one of the reasons I'm enjoying Horizon 3 as much as I am though is because it's set in Australia, and as much as I think Forza Horizon 4 has a fantastic setting, it does Britain like scarily good justice. Like, for representation in a video game, it's really authentic and it looks amazing. It's also where I live, so driving around Australia feels nice, especially given that it's winter right now in England, so it's nice to kind of be in a warm kind of environment, and it feels a bit like a virtual holiday in a way. I did end up buying the DLCs as well, because you never know when they're going to run out of codes for those, and I was like, well, I mean, I'm doing okay financially this month, so sure. So I haven't touched those yet, but I'm very much looking forward to checking out the Hot Wheels DLC for Forza Horizon 3, and I'm very, very happy that I own this game. I feel like I've got it, it's safe, I own it, like, no one can take this away from me, it's in my account, even though I know they probably can, because obviously it's just like a digital ownership thing, but that's a whole different conversation. Mostly this week, though, I've just been playing more Elder Scrolls Online, and a little bit more Yakuza. I briefly mentioned Yakuza last week. I haven't actually played a huge amount more of it, but I'm going to spend some time on my week off playing it because I'm really interested in the story. But as what happens with most games that I play that kind of like have a really tight opening hour or two, and then they open up to like side quests and stuff, the pacing just shifts dramatically and my attention span takes a hit for it, but I'm determined to keep going with the main story. But I haven't seen anything more from the main story besides what I did by the time I was speaking last week, so I think that's why my attention is kind of like, hey, I might drift away from this. It's like, no, get back here. Speaking of my attention drifting away though, this week well, it's a new month, so my reward points got cashed in for £5 worth of Xbox Live voucher, or whatever. I cannot string sentences together today, you may have noticed, but whatever. Basically, with my Microsoft points, I bought Carmageddon Max Carnage, or Max Damage, or whatever it's called. I've never played a Carmageddon before, but it's a vehicular combat game, and I loved those on the PS1 and PS2 as a kid, so I figure, hey, if I can get it for free, then I might as well check it out. I looked up some reviews, and it seems to be kind of middling, mixed reviews, but it seems to be more like it has a very dedicated player base who loves that game, so maybe I will like that game, hopefully. Hopefully it will remind me of my youth. I also picked up Saints Row 2 because I love Saints Row 3 and 4, and Saints Row 2 I do already own on PC, but the port is absolutely atrocious and it's really difficult to play. So given that it's Xbox 360 backwards compatible, I was like, and it was like £1.50, I was like, Hell yeah, I'm getting this game. Funnily enough, Saints Row 3 is also dirt cheap, the 360 version, but Saints Row 3 Remastered is also on sale for like 17 quid, and I am interested in the remastered version because I absolutely love that game. But I already own it on PC and PS3, and it's like, I don't feel like buying that game a third time. I love it, but I don't know if a remaster edition is worth it. And if the funny thing is, if a remaster edition didn't exist, I think there's a stronger chance I would have picked up Saints Row 3, the 360 version, for like 2 quid or whatever it is right now. Because it's like 2 quid, it's like, well, I would pay 2 quid just to have it again on like updated like console hardware, even though I have it on PC, you know, just for achievements, just for another playthrough, who cares, for 2 quid. But because the remastered version exists, it's like, well, I don't want to waste my money on the old version of the game, but I also don't feel like spending exactly what the remastered version is asking for, so I'm just not going to get it again, which is probably the right decision. I own it twice already. This is a running theme with me, isn't it, when it comes to like Skyrim and Minecraft and Elder Scrolls Online now, and oh dear. In terms of shows, I'm still very much enjoying WandaVision. Yesterday I got back into watching Buffy. I have 1 episode left in season 3, so thoughts on Buffy season 3 will be coming out soon, I promise. Or season 3 part 2. Season 3 part 1 is already out. I definitely took a break from watching that, and I explained why in the video, so look forward to that. Blame Game Grumps. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week.